Oh, welcome everyone. If you've wondered what is expected of me as a new product manager or what the heck do PMs even do, then stay tuned because I'm going to demystify what it is to be a product manager. This video is for you freshly minted PMs or folks looking to jump into the role, usually from an adjacent job. There's actually so much to cover on this subject that I'm going to break this video into a two-part series. In this video, I'll cover what skills you need as a product manager and how to transition into product management from other roles. And in part two, I'm going to cover what you're going to do as a product manager in your day-to-day job and what makes it so challenging to become a PM. Hi, I'm Garrett Risco and welcome to the channel Risky Business, where I teach you what tactics product managers use behind the scenes to build the best products out there. So what do PMs even do? If you were to ask 10 people what a PM does, you'll get 10 different answers. Opinions on what PM does are like belly buttons. Everyone's got one. Some think you're managing timelines and deliverables, others think you're doing visual design or journey maps, and some think all you do is Slack all day. But the reason for this is what product managers do still has a lot of gray area, especially because the company you join usually has different expectations and the people you talk to have their own ideas of what you're supposed to do. There's certainly no hard and fast rules, but I can tell you what I look for when interviewing product managers. I'm looking for 4 broad skill sets, in particular business, technology, design, and domain expertise. In addition, I'm looking for soft skills as well. Skills like evangelism, networking, leadership. Do they bring me my favorite old-fashioned glazed donuts? But in general, I find those 4 main categories to find what I'm looking for in a PM. So what does business mean and what do I mean by business? This is the more classic skills you might associate with an MBA or folks coming from McKinsey & Company. This is all about making sure your product will succeed when it hits the market from a business standpoint. This covers financial models, forecasting, pricing, packaging, and the complete go-to-market process. This category is all about making sure your product is viable from a business perspective and matches your company's strategic and market fit. So the technology category, this is all about knowing the difference between bleeding edge technology, cutting edge technology, and where your company is at in their journey, in addition to what technologies you can leverage in your product. As a PM, you have to understand where the puck is going in the tech space, what tools you can use, and how your product can leverage that new technology. You should be keeping an eye out for tech in your space and how much they're real versus hype, as well as technology that can reduce the cost of your product. I think to one of Oprah Winfrey's assistants, where he broke down one of her keys to success in a podcast. He said, in all things that she does, she spends a concentrated amount of time deeply learning a subject. She may spend 1 to 2 weeks on one thing alone. It could be event planning, running a business, international trade, among many other things. This is partially to see if she has an aptitude in the subject. Usually 1 in 20 she might have a talent in, but it's actually more so that she can identify talent and separate those pretenders from the experts. She would then go on to hire and rely on those experts and make up her whole team. Similarly, you having a strong technical background of what's possible helps so you don't get the wool pulled over your eyes on what is or isn't possible from your engineering team, especially when they come at you with these 900 story points to create a button. It's also really beneficial to have a strong technical muscle as you'll gain trust with your engineering teams. So they know that you have a background in this technical space and you're not deciding on things based off of the avocado toast you ate this morning. Also, if you're an inbound product manager, sometimes also known as a product owner, you'll need a much more technical background, especially on the enterprise side. Whereas in the consumer space, usually you'll be a more outbound product manager, where you don't need as much technical background and instead need expertise in consumer science. So what is the design category? This category could be thought of as focusing on the look and feel of the product, the UX, the user stories, journey maps, and outcomes. And while all those are critical, it's actually way more important for you to have a deep understanding of what delights your customers, will cause your product to grow, and will allow you to retain your users. Typically in larger organizations, you'll be relying mostly on your design team to cover the UX and visual design side. And this pillar goes much deeper than purely UI. It's how you pepper your product with magic moments to keep customers coming back for more. It's how Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, and the rest of the greats create products that keep customers coming back with their hassle-free experiences. And it's how you get people invested in your product to become your champions. If you're weak in this design section, start by reaching out to your design team and have them explain their processes to you, how they drive strong product design, and how they make data-driven design decisions. You should have a good grasp on what delights your customers. It really helps to have an eye for design, what customers want to use and see, and what's trending. But more importantly than all that, this is actually about designing a sticky product. A sticky product keeps your users invested, interested, and wanting to come back and keep trying your product. I highly recommend checking out Nir Eyal's book called Hooked. He teaches on how to keep users invested in your product through rewards and feelings of mounted loss in his hook cycle. I highly recommend it, and it's going to be linked down below. And lastly, what is the domain side? This category is all about knowing the product space that you're in. This could be augmented reality heads-up displays, mobile banking applications, or electric mountain bikes. So when I'm interviewing folks about the domain category, I'm looking for a few key specific things. Specifically, I'm looking for their knowledge and expertise in the industry, how well they know their competition's businesses and products, as well as how deep their bench is in the industry. This is basically like how many people can they reach out to when they need to phone a friend. So why do these categories even matter? And is there some hard and fast rule that defines these pillars, like thou shalt master these to be a product manager? The answer is no. These areas of expertise grew organically as the product management role evolved from being a product requirements document writer or a deal chaser into the more renaissance role that it is today, where you're expected to have a broader understanding of a lot more topics. So how do you transition into product management from other roles? More often than not, people are actually accidental product managers. It's like they slide into the role from an adjacent field rather than studying product management in school with the goal to intentionally start as a PM. Most people don't set out and start their careers thinking they'll be a product manager. Oftentimes people study computer science, finance, marketing, or some other role, and they find themselves building on those skills outside of their formal education. Or more likely, they see someone working in product management during the course of their day-to-day job, and they make the jump into PM. This leads to people joining the role from various different fields, from finance, comp sci, MBA, UX design, subject matter expertise in their field, architecture, and the list goes on. What I'm expecting from people I'm looking to hire is expertise in a few of those 4 categories I mentioned before. And having someone that's deep in those is they're like a complete unicorn. They're a rare magical creature that's like impossible to find. Typically, I would pass on people that are only strong in 1 category, whereas I'm looking for 2, or if I'm really lucky, even 3. And 3 is like an instant hire. 4 is that magical unicorn that just doesn't exist. Today, I find it's most common for people to transition from a technical role into product management. Something like a senior software developer or an architect that has a strong grasp on what their customers are looking for and how to delight them. They're usually interested in the business side and sometimes might pursue their MBA. Another common role that transitions into product management is program or project management. They're very familiar with the tactical work on how to get a product delivered and often rub elbows with the engineering team and the PM team, and oftentimes are mentored while transitioning into the product role. You'll often see designers making the leap into project management as they already have maybe 1 or even 2 of the categories covered, like design and domain, and typically they'd be skilling up in the business aspect of how to create a product that sells. Now, of course, you'll find the role definitely varies by company, and it even varies by the team you're in within a company. Sometimes they expect you to pick up the domain expertise on the job, and sometimes they want you to already have a background in underwater basket weaving before bringing you in, so you can hit the ground running or swimming immediately. Typically, I find most Amazon roles are looking for that MBA or business type background where you can make sure that you have the financial models to understand if a product is going to sell. And I find Google is more looking for the technical background or consumer science background for their consumer related products. What I find is most important for the PM role is product sense, which I'm definitely going to be covering later in this video. And while frameworks exist to help you hone your product sense skill, it's not something that anyone can teach you in school. It can be gained only with experience in building and typically failing at building many products. That's why most product manager roles require some sort of prior experience. Also, inversely, when you're interviewing for a job, you should be quizzing your employer on what they think product managers do and what role that they fill. It's a huge red flag to me when companies think PMs are just facilitators or are more concerned with timelines and delivery instead of product managers that should be concerned with product value and business viability. Companies should be able to explain their vision and strategy succinctly, and if they can't, they should at least be forward in stating that, hey, they're bringing you on to bring that vision. If they don't have either of those, it's a huge red flag. So if you're looking to be that next accidental product manager, focus on being that unicorn that amazes people with your design, technical, business, and domain knowledge. And stay tuned for part 2, where I break down what you're going to be doing as a product manager in your day-to-day job and what makes it so challenging to become a PM. And in proper YouTube fashion, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the video, and comment down below with any questions you want me to answer. Hit the bell to follow and get notified of new content where I break down industry expertise, PM best practices, day-to-day ways to excel in the role, and some behind-the-scenes secrets on how some of the top companies make the best products out there. And of course, stay tuned for next week or maybe next week for another episode. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you next time.